y'all, my name is Ali Pajan. Welcome to my home. I'm going to be taking you through my wedding day from start to finish, the moment I woke up to the moment I fell asleep. And I hope that this video is particularly practical if you are going to be married soon. Congrats. Or I just hope it's encouraging in some way, shape, or form. I do gotta let you know though, I would never want to relive my wedding day in a sense of do it again. I will tell you more about that in a bit, but let's start at the beginning. So I woke up around 8:30 a.m. I want to say maybe 8. And if you know me, I'm not a morning person. So I would rather have slept in. But you know when you know you have something coming up the next day? I don't know if this is just me, but my body wakes up earlier than it needs to because it's excited or anxious or something. So I woke up earlier than I had to. I probably could have slept in an extra hour, but woke up at 8 to 8:30. And at the time, I was sharing a small bedroom with a friend and living with her. So I packed up my side of the bedroom and I got ready to move to Tristan's apartment, where now here we are. It's the Padron home. So I want to say from 8 to 9:30, I gathered all my things. I slept on a cot for the past 2 years before I married Tristan, so I folded that up. I took all the clothes out of my closet, which wasn't that many, and just anything I had in the kitchen, and I packed up my Hyundai Elantra sedan car with everything to my name, and I drove to Chick-fil-A. I picked up Chick-fil-A breakfast around 9:45, and then I went to Tristan's apartment. Tristan, at the time I opened the door, was still sleeping. So I woke him up, we had breakfast together, and I think I started arranging my stuff a little bit. The place was a mess. It really needed some work, some love and some work. So I didn't want to do everything that one day. This is my wedding day, and I was also moving in the same day. But I think I did a little bit, put some stuff away. I wanted to make sure our bedroom was kind of nice and set up, as in we had a bed, sheets on it, and a blanket. And then once I got situated a little bit here and we ate together, I went back to the home I was living with my friend. And at that home is where I got ready because Tristan was gonna get ready here at the now Padron home. So I went back to my old home, and my roommate from that old home was one of my bridesmaids. Her name is Beth. So a couple of my bridesmaids were gonna meet me at that home, do some final touches to their hair and makeup. I was steaming my veil, or trying to, and my dress as well. I did do it the night before, I think, but I was just doing some final touches. So I did my own hair and my own makeup from the times between 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. I braided my hair in like a big puffy Dutch style braid, but my hair was short at the time and I curled it. And I had these silk flowers that I wanted to put in my hair, and I couldn't quite get them to look right, but I did end up putting them in the part where the braids connect. And then I did my own makeup. When my friends and bridesmaids came to that home, they were also doing final touches to their hair and makeup. I remember Ariel helped contour me a little bit and helped with my veil. And then from that location, that home, we went to a park to take photos. And that was between the times of 3:30 to 5 p.m. And at this park, we took a bunch of pictures with the wedding party. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before that, we had our first look and first kiss at the park. And our photographer, Josh Chun, took our pictures, and it was a very sweet time, but also I was really overwhelmed by my first kiss. And Tristan wanted to keep kissing, and I was like, that's enough. Yeah, I don't know, the feeling of kissing was just weird to me. He did try to slip in a tongue a little bit, and I was like, nope, nope. Gotta work up to that, buddy. Hold your horses. But granted, you know, normally he was excited. So we had our first kiss and first look, and then we started taking pictures with our wedding party and some family as well. and that lasted about an hour and a half. We were pretty on schedule. I remember towards the end of this photo shoot time period, though, our photographer was like, we need to get pictures of you guys together because we don't have any of those yet. So we took some pictures together, and then we went to the venue. And all of this is happening within a very local area. So I don't want to give exact locations, but the house that we got ready in was in the same city as the park that we took pictures in, which was in the same city of the venue where we were going to get married for ceremony and reception. And then Tristan's apartment was in a neighboring city. And all of our friends live in neighboring cities as well. So it happened in a way where everybody was pretty local, except for a guest who may have been coming from farther. Like I did have an uncle fly from NorCal, for example. So we did have a couple guests coming from farther places, but our wedding party and ourselves and the venue were all very close together in terms of location. So that made things run kind of smooth. I received a recommendation from a wedding planner to have all the bridesmaids together in one place and have all the groomsmen together in one place. And I don't think that happened. It's fine because the people in our wedding party were, one, responsible, but secondly, everything's pretty local. So I do think perhaps if you have a venue that's far away, it would be good to group all the people in the wedding party together and have them together at the beginning of the day. That way everybody's accounted for and nobody's coming late or is like, where is this person? But in my case, for my wedding, I didn't really have a special time getting ready together with my girls. It was pretty like individually they got ready, I got ready, and then we met for the photo shoot. So that was my experience, and honestly, I was fine with it. And the photo shoot went well, and then we got to the venue. Most of the things that we needed were already at the venue because we had a rehearsal and setup the night before, and we took care of bringing all the important stuff. We were able to leave stuff in the fridge like flowers and other drinks or food, and so that worked out well. I think the only thing we needed to get the day of was ice, and Eddie and Stella from our wedding party were so gracious to get that. So everything was pretty much in order and taken care of. We went to the venue at 5 o'clock, and the actual ceremony was set to start at 6, doors opening at 5:30. So from 5 to 5:30, I just made sure everything was okay with the venue, double checking how everything looked. I was trying to figure out my dress a little bit because it was a V-cut dress and I needed fashion tape. And luckily, thankfully, one of the girls who was there a little bit early to help out, she had fashion tape. So she honestly saved me. Shout out to Rain. And yeah, I remember being a little bit everywhere, just making sure that everything was okay in these 30 minutes. I don't really remember where Tristan was. He was probably doing his thing. But then before the ceremony started at 6, I want to say around 5:40. Most of the bridal party was in this waiting room. So we were just chilling. And then I want to say 5 minutes before the ceremony started at 6, we all prayed together with the bridal party and Tristan, myself, and our pastor, who is our officiant. And he prayed for us. And then we lined up to get ready to walk down the aisle. The way my wedding was set up was that there was circular tables on both sides. So that's where people would sit all ready to eat. And then there was an opening in the middle. So it was, I forget the name of it, but it was the style where you're already set up for reception. So you don't have to like tear down or go to a new location to set up for the eating part of the wedding. So everybody was already sitting where they would eat. And this venue was not particularly pretty, but it was a roof over our heads and had AC and chairs and tables. And that was what was important to me. I didn't need it to look beautiful. I just needed a place to put all these people in and do the ceremony. We did have this one big LED screen behind us. So the guest tables are here, and then there's an aisle, and then we walk down the aisle, stop here, and then right here is a screen. and we put Rivendell on the screen because Rivendell is beautiful and I love Lord of the Rings. And so our guests looking at us would also see Rivendell in the background. And honestly, that grounded me because I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but during the actual message, there was a point where I started to tear up a little bit and I was like, oh no. And then I looked at Rivendell and I was like, grounded myself and I was okay. So yeah, I'm glad we had Rivendell. Rewinding back, our officiant walked down the aisle first, our pastor, and while he was walking and while the procession was going, our friend Eric, who is the lead singer of The Crafted Child, was playing a song by our other friend, Jonathan Ogden, called Friend, and it was acoustic styled. It was just him on the guitar and singing. I could hear the guitar and I could faintly hear his singing, but I think his mic wasn't working. But you could still kind of hear it. And so the rest of the bridal party walked out, and then Tristan and I were last, and we decided to walk out together. And typically when the bride walks out, that's when the pastor says, please rise. But people didn't rise because the pastor's mic wasn't working, and maybe also they weren't sure what to do because Tristan and I walked out together. It wasn't just me. So we got to the end of the aisle. The song finished nicely, although I don't, again, think the singer's mic was working. And then our pastor was like trying to figure out the mic. And then finally the sound came on after a little pause. And he was like, please rise. Please be seated. Like instantly, it was so funny. And I think the little hiccup, I don't know, it cut through the tension in a way, in my mind. People laughed, so it kind of started off the ceremony on a more lighthearted note, which I liked. And then our pastor gave the message or the sermon, and we wanted it done on Philippians 2. That passage is special to us because on V3, it's one of the core passages that our dance team bases its core values around, and it's actually an assignment, or it was while we were on the team, to memorize that whole section of scripture in Philippians 2. And so, yeah, he preached on that and it was great. And like I said, I almost cried a little bit during the sermon, but I didn't. I sucked that tear back up and I looked at Rivendell and I was like, we're gonna be okay. And then we turned to each other and we gave our vows. We decided not to do a ring exchange. In my opinion, that's done at every single wedding. We all know what the rings mean. It was unnecessary for us to do that. And also, Tristan didn't have a physical ring yet. I got him a ring for our 1-year anniversary, but at the time he had a tattoo ring. And I just wore my rings down the aisle. Also, kind of random, I don't think I've showed you guys my wedding band. So I kind of wanted to show you right now because I don't always feel this extra, but today I did, where I'm wearing my wedding band. I might need to come a little closer. So I'm wearing my wedding band, which is the leafy pointed ring at the bottom. And then there's my moissanite engagement ring. And at the top, I have my friendship ring. Look at that setup. I'm kind of really into it right now, but yes. Okay, moving on. So we didn't do a ring exchange. We didn't do a lot of things, actually. And I made a video on that, and I'll have it linked. That video is not the best quality. Sorry about that, but I do have a video on all the things I didn't do for my wedding that may be traditional wedding things to do. We did exchange vows and we wrote our own vows, and Tristan did cry during his vows and I cried reading mine towards the very end. And then you may kiss the bride. Kissed. After the kiss, then our pastor and officiant excused the wedding party to sit down at their table and for the bride and groom to sit down at our table, so we didn't have a grand exit or a grand re-entrance. And then we sat down at our tables, pastor went to his table, and before he did, he invited of The Crafted Child, one of our favorite bands, favorite Christian bands ever, and our friends up to lead worship. And that was a beautiful time. We sang a few songs, and then Crafted Child invited Tristan and myself back up to do our first dance. And our first dance was Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Lion King edition, including the whole dialogue between Timon and Pumbaa.
I can see what's happening, and they don't have a clue. Who? They fall in love, and here's the bloodline. Our trio's down to 2. Oh, sweet caress of twilight. There's magic everywhere, and with this romantic atmosphere, disasters in the air.
Can you feel the love tonight? And that was lovely. Beautiful voices, beautiful musicians that they are. We kept it light, we kept it goofy. Don't particularly love when first dances are super serious, so we wanted to go for something more lighthearted for us and for our wedding. And then afterwards, we had a special performance where we performed Love Me Less, which was the dance that brought us together. So it was a very full circle moment. This dance is what caused us to spend a lot of time together and to become really good friends. And we had good chemistry, we had good vibes, and so we re-performed it at our wedding and it was a hit. Like, doing this dance changed the vibe of the wedding. People were much more excited after we performed it, and so I'm really glad we did that. Thank you so much to Ariel for recommending that we do that. We weren't gonna dance in a performance way at our wedding, but I'm really glad we performed Love Me Less. And then after that, we sat down, we ate, we had the most amazing Korean fried chicken and Korean food from Oh Mama. If you are in Orange County, you must check them out. They are the best Korean fried chicken in this area. Many guests came up to me and told me that it was the best wedding food they've ever had. And then after we ate, we went into playing some games like Kahoot. You know, the shoe game where the bride is holding one of her shoes and the groom's shoe, and then it's a question on the screen like, who's more grumpy in the morning? And then you raise the shoe depending on who it is. You're facing back to back. I'll show a clip. So we did that. We did a Who Knows Us Best Kahoot game with prizes, which was really fun. And I'm very happy that Nanetti and CJ got first and second place. They are our very good friends. What happened after this? Dancing. There was some dancing. I think because we didn't have a DJ, we used a Spotify playlist. The dancing was okay. We had the classics like Cupid Shuffle, Wobble, but I was surprised a lot of people didn't dance, and a lot of people are dancers because half of our wedding guests were from our dance team. So it was a little bit disappointing, but it could have been the vibes of the venue and no DJ aspect. But honestly, DJs are so expensive. They're worth it, but they're so expensive. And so free Spotify playlist with good songs or $1,000 to $2,000 on a DJ. You know what? I'll take the free because those who weren't self-conscious and insecure and were down to dance did dance and have a good time. And those who weren't feeling it or needed alcohol in order to have a good time didn't have a good time dancing. And that's on them, not on me, you know? Is that a little too aggressive? Sorry if it is. I don't really have anything against people who didn't dance, but I really feel like that's on them, so.
We can be eternal, eternal, forever, we can be eternal. Side chicks can't dance like this. Side can't dance like this. No, 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 no. Side can't step like this. Side dance, dance like this. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh yeah.
Then after dancing, people left around 9:30 to 10, and then from 10 to 11 was cleanup. I was actively involved in the cleanup. By this time, my feet were definitely tired, but they weren't in pain because I wore Air Force Ones the whole day and I never wore heels or sandals, so my feet thankfully had a very comfortable shoe to rely on, but they were still really tired by the end of the night. The end of the night was a lot of cleanup, and I had a structure for it. I actually have a spreadsheet of the setup and tear down. My bridesmaids, I tasked each of them with being responsible for a certain area when it comes to setup and tear down, and I appreciate all their help with it. The groomsmen were also actively involved in helping with this, and it went smoothly, and we couldn't have done it without our wedding party as well, so it all came together. Thankfully, also, it wasn't too large scale of an event, because if we were relying on just ourselves and our wedding party for a 200 plus wedding, that probably wouldn't have worked out well. But the fact that it was under 100 people, it was somewhat manageable for us to take care of. After the wedding was done, we're at 11 p.m. now. We left on time. Tristan and I drove to the Padron home apartment, and we had two friends. We had Stella and Eddie and Beth follow us to the apartment to drop off some stuff that they put in their car, and put all these boxes in our living room, and it was stacked and messy, but we were gonna deal with it another day. And then they bid us goodnight and they left, and then we were like, let's take a shower. We took a shower. I got into some lingerie. I wore white lingerie and had a little baby blue wrap, and well, let me just tell you, we didn't have sex, but we did get naked and, kissed, and I cried as well. Yeah, I did cry. It was just a lot. It was such a emotional day in a way. It was emotional for me for a lot of reasons, but it's also emotionally and mentally taxing to be around that many people and to run an event of that scale. So all those things led me to shed a few tears, but I fell asleep in his arms, and that was the end of the day. We probably slept around 1 a.m. if I could guess. Slept in, and that was the end of our wedding day. Just some final thoughts in conclusion, going back to what I mentioned in the beginning of the video of how I would not want to repeat or relive this day. I think there can be a lot of expectation and pressure put upon your wedding day. And for me, I gotta say, being married is so much better than getting married. One day of being married to my best friend and the love of my life is so much better than throwing this big event. On one hand, the wedding day and our wedding day was a beautiful, joyful day of celebration, and I enjoyed it. But on the other hand, there's inevitable things that are stressful. It is about you guys, and it should be about you guys and the day that you wanted, but you can't deny that it's also about your guest, because you're a host. And if you are hosting this event, there is the concern of other people, what they think, and making sure that they're okay, that they're enjoying themselves. And if you have more than 5 people at your wedding, the scale of that is can be overwhelming. And there's just eyes on you the whole night, and I don't mean that in a negative way, like they're all like staring you down and like watching your every move. I don't mean it like that, but there's a lot of eyes on you. And so there's aspects about getting married and a wedding celebration that are just uncomfortable to me as a person, and I feel like they would be overwhelming for any person, honestly, whether you're an introvert or not. And so the wedding day was the worst day of my marriage, because every other day after that has been so much sweeter and so much better, in my opinion. And that's not to say my wedding day was bad, but it just gets so much better. Just being together, knowing each other more, loving each other deeper. And I don't want y'all to have the pressure that this wedding day has to be perfect, because it's not going to be. It's just not. It's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be the best day of your life. If you are a Christian, the best day of your life will be when you die and meet Jesus face to face. That will be the best day of your life. And I believe if you're marrying your best friend, every day after your wedding is going to be better than actually getting married. That's just my 2 cents. I could be wrong and your experience could be different, but I really hope that the partner that you are committing to for long term, although there's going to be hardships and ups and downs, that you will really, really enjoy marriage. Yeah, that's my hope for you. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to link in my description how to get my wedding schedule and my setup and teardown spreadsheet, because hopefully that could be a helpful resource. And yeah, thank you so much for being here and for coming over. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you next week at the Fit Your Own Home. Bye!
And I know you'll never let me go. Spirit, help me reach the end. And when I fall, to start again. And I know that I'm never on my own. You're my savior, you're my friend. You are faithful to